Welcome to Mindset with Gina. I'm your host, Gina, and I'm so glad you're here today. We're diving into a topic that so many of us navigating life with ADHD can relate to: how to set yourself up and your family for a successful day. If mornings feel chaotic, routines seem impossible to stick to, or you're looking for strategies to bring more ease into your daily flow, you're in the right place. I'm joined by Alena Schabes, a psychologist in neurodivergency and family dynamics, who's here to share practical tips and insights to help you create structure, reduce stress, and set up your day for success. What I like about our discussion is that there are different ways to structure your morning. And whichever way you choose to structure it, it does start with mindset. So let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Gina, and welcome. Today, we are talking to Alena Schabes, who is a psychologist who specializes in family therapy and neurodiversity. Hey, Alena.
Hi, Gina. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me today. Can you just introduce yourself a little bit?
Well, my name's Alena, and I'm trained as a clinical psychologist, and I've sort of stumbled upon this specialty in neurodiversity. I've been doing family therapy for a super long time, and I love supporting families and their functioning, and for all members, the development of all members to their optimum potential.
I love that. Well, and today we are talking about optimal potential because I think this is a topic that excites me so much. We're talking about the morning routine, and it sounds simple, but it's not. And especially as a parent with ADHD, it's not simple. And it's something we have to think about and we have to structure. And when I was thinking about this and talking to you about it, I thought, oh, this is a perfect place to start because we are going to have Alena back on the show. Again, I'm a coach. She's a therapist. So it's a very different mindset sometimes when we come together and talk about these things. But talking about ADHD with you is always just so special because I learned so much from you. Being a parent, as y'all know, with ADHD, until I figured out that morning routine, it was messy. My weeks looked messy. And then throw a kid into it. Now we have one child, a teenager, who right now needs a lot of attention. And we had to make sure that morning routine was right. So, Alena, I feel like you do it really well. Talk to me. You've got two younger kids.
Yeah. So my kids are 10 and 7. And I want to, go back to like what it was like before kids. I have to say that morning routines before kids were not so difficult in the sense that like I didn't know what to do or how to get myself out of the house, but it was like, I don't wanna. Like, I was like, running so hard during the week, working so hard, skipping meals, burning myself out. And then the morning would come and it'd be like, I have to do it all again. I don't wanna. So there was a lot of, at that time I was actually an adult therapist. And I just remember doing depression groups, like focusing on the I don't wannas in the morning. How do you get through those? I don't want. It was so different because on the weekends I would feel depressed. Actually, not with the I don't wannas, but in the like, I don't have this. And I would just like stay in bed and lounge. And it felt like it was the most luxurious morning, but it wasn't happy. So it's interesting that, the morning routines change so much with families because it's not like, and I don't want to, it's, I have to. So you don't think that I don't have to, you have to.
We go through seasons with the kids. If they're younger, they're maybe getting up earlier. As they get older, it's hard to get up. It's hard to get them up. And you're right, but we have to do it. So how do we start the day off right? What do you think are some tools, some tips? Actually, I'm going to stop for one. Mindset. Let's talk about mindset because I think everything starts there, doesn't it? Like we know how to put a structure into place. How do we how do you stay in mindset?
Yeah, exactly. So whether it's the I don't wannas that you have in the mindset in the morning, or it's the I don't have to's, right? Or I deserve to just, lay in bed and not do anything, right? There's the I don't have to's. Then there's the I have to and the right? Yeah. And I'm sure people who do mindset work have a lot cleaner description of those, but those just seem like the top 3 pitfalls for me in terms of mindset, right?
Yeah.
And so the morning comes and we want to be like, I get to wake up today and I get to be the leader of my family today, right? So there's a mindset of like, maybe my energy's not right. Maybe I don't really want to. Maybe there's some dread or some worry or some, oh, I'm tired. But if we start putting our mind into the I get to wake up today and I get to see what's going to transpire today. I think that that's a really important piece. And so you may do, I don't want to, but I get to. I don't want to, but I get to. You may be doing this little teeter-totter, but I can tell you that the only way that I got over the I don't want us is to just drop the I don't want it. It's like, yeah, you're okay, but you're gonna, right? So then there's this other piece of vibe. Right. So you may have low energy. And if you are like, I don't want to, but I have to. I don't want to, but I have to. Right. There's like this low vibe and this grumbly thing. And I think as a parent, as a leader, right, as the kings and queens of our domain, if you will, we actually are responsible for set a tone. So then there's a vibe piece. Right. So the vibe sort of follows from it. Well, the vibe comes. I just want to just highlight that mindset isn't just enough to just have this back and forth with yourself. Right. We also have to embody that energy. And maybe that's going to take a little bit of time. And maybe we can save that for, a separate podcast. But the idea, your mindset is the beginning. It's sort of like the drop of water. The vibe sort of ripples out. And then not just into how you approach your day or how your hair looks, or it ripples out into all the pieces, all the components that we're going to kind of go into. And then it ripples out into your kids and how they go. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And they go throughout their day, how they perceive their day, how their teachers perceive them, right? How they, function. It's in their classes and with their friends and what they eat, right? And then how they come home at the end of the day. It's all part of a ripple effect.
Right. Right.
It's of course correct, but it's just important to kind of think about like mindset is like the drop, and then the ripple effect is the vibration that comes from, right? That, and so the drop is what you're telling yourself in the morning. And so in an ideal setting, in an ideal mindset, you would say, I get to experience this day. I get to see what happens. I get to participate. I get to live. I get to live to see.
Yeah. Right. It's so true. I think we take that for granted. I know I have. It's like, I get to wake up today. Let's start there, and also visual. For me, I have to take the saying with the visual. So if I want the vibe to roll and be calm in the morning, I have to visualize what that's going to look like for my family. And I can start to implement. And, you hear some people like, oh, you got to wake up at 5. You got to wake up at 6. You and I kind of touched on this. I think that that's true, especially if you have ADHD.
Everyone is different. I think one thing that is universal about ADHD is that there is a need for all humans to have structure. But I think there's a very different need for different people with different types of brains. So the misnomer about ADHD is it's all the same. Everybody's brain is unique. We're just starting. If you look at some of the current research, and particularly like the Amen clinics start to try to differentiate between 6 or 7 subtypes of ADHD. And then if you add, the autism superimposed, or the depression, or the personality styles, or the trauma, or you could probably get, dozens and dozens of brain styles. So some people really do well with structure and continue to implement a structure in a very rigid way. And that works for them. Mm-hmm. There's other people who do a little bit of structure, get bored of the structure, want the novelty. When it comes with kids, sometimes you have kids. I remember one time they were waking up at like 4:30 or 5 a.m. Right. And then there's other, we just slept for the first time till 9:30 last weekend. I was like, oh, wow. Is going on. So I know the value of structure. My father was very routine. I would wake up at 6:20. I would be out of the house at 7:05. We would bedtime was very structured. There's a way to be very structured, but there's also a way to also just recognize that your needs and your family's needs change and the seasons change.
Yes. Yes.
It's really you get to bed at 9 when it's light outside.
Right.
Winter time, it's really hard to wake them up at 7 when it's dark outside.
Yeah.
Right. So there are seasons and there's rhythms for people individually, and there's for your family individually. As we go into this idea of structures and routines, which I think ultimately, everybody needs some template for themselves. It's not a one size fits all, and it's not a one season fits all either.
Right. Oh, it's so true because it depends on where you live too, right? We live in Oregon now. The seasons are very different than in California. It gets dark here very early. It's really dark in the morning time. We had to get used to that and we had to be flexible. And I love the seasonality part because I really think as a society, we miss that, especially in California, where there are no seasons. There's raining and then there's like sun. And we kind of forget that our body, regardless of what's happening outside, is still changing with the seasons. And kids especially, right? So
Kids especially, wild card of their hormones. There's the wild card of when their projects or presentations are due. There's the wild card about when their school starts. I think a friend was telling me like their kid starts like at 8:00. I think we're heading to middle school. We're going to start at like 9:30. Like that is a big difference, a big range of difference in the morning. And it starts with the evening, right? It starts with the evening. It's all part of a cycle.
mhm.
And then, yeah, there's hormonal changes, there's growth spurts, there's illnesses that throw you off schedules or vacations, right?
Mhm.
Time
Yeah.
change when you go on vacation or a night of bad sleep can ripple out for several days. So it's not as predictable as one might like. And I think it's important to give ourselves grace when we set a schedule or routine and then we fall off it. Maybe
Right.
we'll go back to that same schedule or routine, or maybe we'll actually create a new one. A new one will come out of it. But the
Yeah.
idea is that you have some kind of a sketch for the types of things that most people find get their brain and body ready to receive the day and participate in the day and for the optimum mindset.
Yeah. And what's that sketch look like for you, Alena? Like, what do you think worked well for you guys?
Yeah. So I'm toying with this idea of setting the alarm and then snoozing. I think that sleep folks will say that actually snooze is a very poor practice because the snooze, you don't actually fall asleep. So you don't get into kind of a REM, like actually like a deep sleep. For me, it's the snooze I use as kind of like a somnambulant, whatever the word is, right? Like an in-between state where I know I have to wake up, but I'm not yet fully awake. So
Mhm.
I'll set the snooze and it'll sort of just cue, you're getting out of bed in 15 minutes. Or cue, you're getting out of bed in 7 minutes. I think sometimes people perpetually snooze. So if you put a snooze alarm for 20 minutes, for example, you might actually fall back asleep. And then when the snooze alarm hits again, you're going to want to hit again, again, and again. So you have to really think about that snooze button.
Yeah.
And I think that, generally speaking, there's an ideal time for people to wake up. I think recent research has showed that women actually need more sleep than men. So if you're co-sleeping with a man, you might actually need more sleep than him. So I think a lot of people actually, I don't know if you know this website, Attitude Magazine, attitudemag.com.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think I just read it was like, are people meant to co-sleep? I think that's where I saw it. Are people meant to share beds? Or is family
Yeah.
meant to share beds? That's just an article sort of about that. So I need 8 to 10. I haven't gotten 10 since before kids, but I definitely need 8. So I'll try to kind of, go back and say, what time can I go to sleep versus what time do I need to wake up? I also go into like, what time do I need to leave the house and the things that I need to do, sort of back that up and try to calculate that out to try to get the ideal sort of waking time. So
And
for me, 6:45 is my ideal waking time.
okay, so what I'm hearing you say about the snooze is you like to hit the snooze button because it just gives you that space and time that you've hit the snooze, you got to start waking up. It gives you that little bit of space to think about it, like lay in bed and think about it. I love that.
Yeah, lay in bed, I think about it. I'm like, okay, how am I going to get my mindset right? Like, what am I feeling in my body? Maybe I'll kind of lay down a little bit. Maybe I'll just do like a little bit of breathing, a meditative breathing. For some reason, I'm like thinking and like, oh, and I need to do this, I need to do this. I just get up.
Okay.
But I don't want the snooze to be like I don't wanna. Or, that's not a great use of snooze.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then you want to use that 15 minutes to like slowly like inch yourself to the edge of the bed, right? Get your one leg over, get this next leg over, right? Gently sit up, right? And you can kind of one little step at a time. So sometimes if you have a difficult morning routine of getting up, right, you didn't sleep well the night before, you want to use those first 15 minutes of the morning to gently just encourage your body and your mind to get with the program. We are doing. This is what is happening. Positive mindset of, I get to, and I'm going to slay today. But we have to reset from the, I don't
Right.
want. So we just go, okay, but you are. And just put the arm over the side. Yeah, but you are. Just sit up.
Yeah.
But you are, right? Feet on the ground. But you are, right? So I tend to do that. Most of the time I have to pee right away. So
Right.
I usually,
Bathroom.
yeah.
Mhm.
And if you don't actually have to wake up and pee within 15 minutes, you're probably not drinking enough water.
It's a really good pro tip.
Pro tip,
Yeah.
you're not drinking enough water. So it gets you out of bed. So after that, if I'm getting back in bed, I'm sitting up.
Yeah.
Usually the way to the bathroom or the way back from the bathroom, I'm raising my blinds.
Okay.
On the blind.
Bringing some light in if there's light out there, raising the blinds, prepping the home.
Yeah, even if it's not, the sun is going to follow you. So for your circadian rhythm, right, we are diurnal animals. Light exposure to light is a huge piece. And anybody who remembers, right, when you were putting your kids to bed, you wanted those blackout shades because you wanted them to nap in the middle of the day. The same effect for you. Your shades are down. Your diurnal rhythm is not being activated. So you definitely want to raise those blinds. If your blinds aren't dark enough at night, or if they're crappy blinds, if you don't enjoy raising them, it is a little pricey. But there's some online things that you can switch out blinds, and I do that probably every 5 or 10 years because there's all different kinds of little mechanisms and ways. But I go around. I raise all those blinds and I say hello to the day, right? I say hello to the plant that's outside. I say hello to the sky. I kind of do a little bit of a hello thing.
As you're raising blinds, you're walking around saying hello, good morning. Yeah.
Right. I try to like put my whole energy and body that, get to attitude. It's just like, there's a hill on the side. Sometimes I'll look, sometimes there's the moon that's still out. I'll give it a look. Right now we have planets that are doing some cool alignments.
That's right. Yeah. No, it's so fun.
Yeah. And then, so there's an important thing about the phone, right? So, phone as a circadian rhythm is a disruptor. So we do use our phones. We see what time it is. Maybe you're not one of those people that, puts your phone in some, EMF proof case in the basement area when you're sleeping because of whatever electronic waves, right? Some people just sleep with it next to the bed, but you want to make sure it's on silent or using those sleep features. And if you pick it up, you want to think about, what am I doing when I'm picking it up? I'm looking at the time. I'm looking at the weather.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not trying to scroll. I'm not trying to check my email. I'm just setting the vibe for the day, getting the mindset and setting the vibe for the day. There's nothing worse than the mindset killer than to pick it up and even just see, your Apple News tell you about something that's going on. And you better bet that there's going to be 10 things going on with this new administration. It's going to happen super fast, right? There's going to be so many things going on. No better way to just screw up your mindset than to get excited or worked up about something. So news in the morning, maybe news at night as well. But but when you pick up your phone, you really should be like, is this on a do not disturb? Am I getting pings about notifications? Or am I opening things that I shouldn't be opening? Maybe I should, start setting I have an analog alarm clock that goes onto the station, and I know when they're going to say what the weather's going to be. So, maybe I leave the radio on. Right. Maybe, so I have a radio, one of those radio things. So my alarm goes off the radio and I set it to a station, right, where they have good news or whatever it is, or they have the old 80s songs or whatever. So music can also improve the vibe. Again, if you're picking up your phone, right, you might be tempted to do something else, but you may want to have ready some kind of a morning kind of playlist. And I think kids do really well with some kind of playlist, ambient in the background. It helps to create a vibe.
Yeah, it helps to create a vibe for your brain in the morning. And I love, for me, I'm a little bit on the extreme side. So I can't even touch my phone. I cannot look at my phone until Josie or my daughter is off to school. Like if I do, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get sucked into an email. I'm going to get some anxiety about something for work. Or like you said, the news, like it's just not good for me. So it was a game changer when I finally realized that and stopped doing it. It was a game changer for the vibe.
Huge. And you may think like, well, how am I going to listen to music, or how am I going to get the weather, or how am I going to, it's like, there's other ways. Check the weather before, right? Get yourself a little alarm clock that's got the radio,
Yeah.
There's other ways, If people use their phones to set an alarm. You can get one of these alarm clocks. It's really not that crazy, but you have to really commit to knowing yourself and knowing what's actually going to work for you.
Yeah.
Speaking, The news in the morning is going to be a mindset killer. And then the sunlight and music in the morning is going to be a vibe booster.
Yes, I love that. I love. And what else? So we've talked about a few things here. No phone, waking up saying, I get to slowly kind of getting out of bed. And I love the blinds, going around, opening everything up, saying good morning, hello. Those are like little affirmations too, right? As you're going around and doing that.
It feels a little Snow White-ish, actually. I'm just like, really that Pollyanna, but it's such a stark contrast from, again, before kids 15 years ago. I don't want to do, I have to, this is going to suck today, like that whole thing. It's like sort of like the exact opposite. And so I throw myself into that mindset. And sometimes I'll even do the singing, good morning, right? Like thinking like kindergarten, like nursery songs, like you're making something up, good morning, Mr. Sun, right? Whatever it is. But I just do it to try to amp up my energy. I make my bed.
It's funny. It makes me laugh,
It does. I think I'm funny. I'll do that in the rest of the house as well, right? So after I don't necessarily get myself dressed. I get everybody else out. But I try to get my vibe right. I will come back to my room. I'll make my bed. I actually think that making the bed is secret sauce in terms of like giving for yourself. Because it really only takes a minute. Right. It's one thing that you're just checking right off your list. So I open my blinds, check, right? I made my bed, check. So I start to kind of give myself like little daily wins. This is actually a really important thing, is to kind of set these small goals and encourage yourself, right? I'm just going to go downstairs and, put toast in the toaster, right? I'm just going to go downstairs and open the blinds down there. And my kids have a general morning routine, things that they're supposed to do. They're supposed to get themselves up. We don't make their beds, right? They don't seem to care quite as much. But their shades get opened, right? Our animals get attended to. They get some pets and food and water. And then we pack their lunches. I think another thing is that in our culture, we get really very used to caffeine first thing in the morning. And I think for ADHD can be medicine. Caffeine can be medicine. But I think it's really important that you wait about 30 to 60 minutes before you actually introduce caffeine. It's basically a cortisol disruptor. So cortisol is a stress hormone, and your cortisol is actually rising in the morning. So you sort of interrupt it with like an extra boost of cortisol. It actually can follow you throughout the rest of the day. So it actually will burn your adrenals early on in the day and actually contribute to a later crash. And I think coffee, I don't know what the science is behind coffee, but I feel coffee or like energy drinks have this mixture, this concoction of like different chemical mixture that's different than other forms of caffeine. And I think that there's still more to be studied with it. But I think coffee in particular has this extra boost with this like extra, I don't know what else is sort of in there that it does. But I think it has been shown to, it blocks the adenosine receptors, and it can, and there's all this stuff we don't know about these chemicals, right? Dopamine and cortisol and estrogen, right? And all those other things, they all sort of work together. So if you're trying to sort of biohack, you're sort of biohacking preemptively.
Yeah.
And you want to say, okay, let my body wake up. Let me do my mindset work. Let me get breakfast, ideally with protein. Okay. So protein is the hugest thing. It's super hard for vegans, a little bit harder for vegetarians. You're not going to have the sausage and things like that, but some form of protein in the morning. And then if you want to have caffeine, you can introduce caffeine. But this idea of like sitting in bed with your phone and your morning coffee sounds like it might be actually a great thing. And maybe it is for you. Hey, you don't listen to me. Everybody's different, but could actually really set yourself up for not eating and nurturing yourself throughout the day, getting an artificial boost that's going to crash somewhere around 11 or 12, maybe an extra coffee without enough food, right? And then you wonder why you're a gremlin in the evening time, like me, just I was running like a plate. Right? Now I go back to the mindset that I don't want to when it dinner time and cleaning up and bedtime routines and things like that. So there's a role for caffeine, but I think it's important to think about how it fits into that morning routine. And I don't think it should be a central focus. I think movement should be a central focus, light, right? And just creating an overall vibe that works with your circadian rhythm and doing that for kids too with their circadian rhythm. right? One of my kids pops right out of bed, ready to go. The other one is like, and she needs to kind of lounge around a little bit. So I don't want to interrupt their process, but I want to get them like, okay, these blinds are getting open. Okay, you're getting up. You're eating protein, right? And you're moving around, right? We also walk the dog, right? So that's another feature for us is we actually walk. So
I think the protein's interesting. So we have a teenager right now who does not like to eat in the morning. She just doesn't. And we keep having these battles with her. So finally, we just switched over to a protein shake. And why she needs protein, why it helps her. And all of a sudden it changed. So she'll start with her protein shake. And then about a half an hour into it, she goes, can I have a piece of bread? Or can I have this? Can I have a yogurt? And it's like, yeah, okay. But we just kind of stopped the battle of the food in the morning and then it switched. So again, it's seasonality.
And shake.
Probably something different. I don't know. But that works right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the shake is a really great compromise. I think when we're talking about like, for parents in particular, though, it's the coffee instead of food, right?
Yeah.
That's, I think, just one of these practices that you really have to reconsider if that's something that you're doing. I'm going to drink my coffee. Maybe I'll have a bite of a cookie. And then I'm going to go throughout my day, maybe eating lunch, maybe skipping lunch. This is like against what your natural rhythm is going to be. Ideally, you would eat something, have some protein, and then if you wanted to introduce caffeine. But I think research is showing that protein in particular in the morning is actually really important for ADHD brains. And there's ways to supplement it.
Yeah.
Shakes. And, I got these really dense protein like nuggets. It's like 4 grams of protein in like 2 bites, 2 of those. Yeah. Simple ways. But you have to look at the packaging.
Yeah, true. So protein in the morning for parents, so important. Now talking about just the strategies of getting out of the house, right? So for me, I have time blindness, right? So when you say like, oh, how long do things take? I am always going to shorten it. I am always going to say it takes shorter amount of time than it actually takes. And that's where routine helps me because I know it's clockwork for us. I know, after this happens. Okay. We set the timer with a Siri every morning to 8:10, which is when we need to leave the house, right? So that works for us. If my husband's not here and it's up to me, we're probably going to be late to school. It just kind of happens sometimes with me. And I think I try not to, but I've also told my kiddo, like, look, this has got to be some of your responsibility too. You're old enough to know what time we're supposed to leave the house. So I'm going to ask you to help me when it's just me. What are your tips for getting out of the house as an ADHD mom? Like what do we do,
Well, I think there is something to be said for the timer. And visual timers for kids, right? You can continue to set timers throughout the morning. Okay, in 10 minutes, we're moving to this thing. In 10 minutes, I'll check back with you this thing. So there's something called a time timer that actually has a visual component where the red kind of shrinks down. If you set a timer in your kids' room for 10 minutes, you actually want to set your own timer for 9 minutes. Or 9.5 minutes, so that then you have that 30-second buffer to be like, okay, is there anything you need to make this mark? Right. So you think of it as like a relay, right?
Yeah.
Passing the baton. Okay. So now we're doing the next thing or we're doing the next thing. Rushing the kids and being like, we gotta hurry up, right? Often for ADHD kids or giving them too many instructions at once is really, really difficult and actually will set you backwards. So the idea is you give the buffer and you say, okay, you need a couple extra minutes. I'll check back in 2 minutes. Or, oh, you want me to grab your brush or you want me to brush the back of your hair, right?
Yeah.
You kind of support them moving along. But I think one of the things that we're not remembering about school in these school-aged years is that we're training to be an adult. We're training them to be an adult. Really, when it really matters, you were here on time. I was here on time. Does it really matter if they're 5 minutes late for school? Truth is that all these, and maybe I'll get in trouble for this, but who gets money whether you are late or not? They correlated tardies with absences, which actually affects their bottom line, their budgets. But if you're showing up to school, you're just showing up late, it's actually not affecting their bottom line. So they've lumped us into this same thing that we're doing to our kids. Well, if you don't show up and you have too many tardies, then you're not going to become a successful adult. They're doing to us what we're doing to our kids, which is actually wholly unhelpful.
Yeah. Right.
I started, maybe it was last year, I was like, I don't really care so much if we're late. I want to make sure you have a water bottle. I want to make sure you have lunch pack. I want to make sure that you have your shoes on.
Yeah.
And if we're 5 minutes late, we're 5 minutes late. Most of the time they have a buffer. I think sometimes people have like in high school, they have like a 0 period where they're walking in and nobody's even doing anything. They're like, why did I just bust my ass to get here?
Right.
We're sitting just doing that homework from last night. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be such a bad thing that kids are late for school. Now, sure, if you are late for work and you're dinged, or your boss is mad at you, or it's totally unprofessional and affecting your reputation, you should work on being late. But I'm not so sure that this whole driving parents to be on time and correlating it with future success is actually a really helpful model. I think it actually just stresses us out and makes us feel like we're not doing great. The truth is, even if you were 5 minutes late, did you get up? Did you open your blinds? Did you make your bed? Did you eat your protein for breakfast? Did you hold back on your coffee until after you ate something? Did you get your kids' shoes and lunch ready? Right? Did you check your mindset? Right? Yeah. Did you create a good vibe? I'll take 10 minutes late if you're going to come in.
Yeah, it's enough. Have a little compassion towards yourself too, right? Yes. I love that. So, I think all of these tips are so important, and it really does set the tone for the day, right? It really, really sets the tone for the day. And you're giving yourself a gift by waking up and saying that first thing that you said, I get to.
I get to do.
Yeah. I love
you didn't get to. If you didn't get to, if for some reason you didn't wake up the next morning, wouldn't you be asking for the chance to do it again? Well, here's your chance. You get to do it again. And it's not easy. And you're certainly learning. And you're certainly teaching your kids while you're teaching yourself. But the truth is that this is a blessing. And each day that we get to learn these really challenging lessons, is a blessing. And I think we forget that every other minute when we're just trying to just get our heads on straight.
Yeah.
The truth is that your head's not going to be on straight. And that is just fine. You're a work in progress, just like we all are.
I love that. Let's end it there. I so appreciate you coming on, Alena, and helping us out. And remember, you get to.